Hey, it's Heather here again. I know I said I was going to do my videos probably sitting, in front of my entertainment center. That way they have more of a, I don't know, serious feel to them, I feel like. And plus, I just think it looks better, in all honesty and everything. But I am trying to take people along kind of with my journey of everything that I'm going through, so that way people that are struggling with similar things, that watch this and everything, that they can, not feel alone and everything and dealing with stuff. But it is in the AM. I am still awake, obviously, and I have a curfew over here, like I've said before, that is set at 11 p.m. So I'm outside trying to be quiet, sitting and talking. And I just went and bought myself some candy because I've been wanting some candy for a minute. And I actually was thinking of hanging out with my old colleagues, and just talking to them whenever they wasn't busy and stuff. But I just had a bad feeling about it, is the best way to word it. So I didn't go with it. My intuition was just like, you know, like caution, I guess you'd say. And so I didn't do that. But when I went over to buy myself some candy, this woman that I've talked to once or twice or three times, now granted, she hasn't sat there and tried to pull the wool over my eyes and act like we are the best of friends, but she has acted very decent, very respectful towards me to a degree. She's never seemed really hateful or anything with me. And she just asked me or because I mentioned it, which I did, I brought it up because she asked me about my drink because I took some of my own sweet tea over there with me as I was walking to go and buy some candy and stuff. And anyways, she's like, "Oh, is that a refill?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "It's, from my house and I just live, kind of across the way." And she's like, "Oh, do you live in those apartments?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And she's like, "Oh, how much do they rent for?" Well, the thing is that the apartment that was next to me was for rent for not too long. And it just makes me feel like people literally did not. And it's another thing, too, like that makes me feel weird and makes me feel like I think it's just, this is where I kind of do resonate and stick with astrology and zodiac signs and stuff. It's because I literally feel like I get attention or I draw attention everywhere I go. And if, and then for as far as doing the personality test, and it came back that I'm an INFP, and so I'm introverted more than I am extroverted, even though I'm an ambivert. And I've not been able to be as introverted as I would like to be because I was forced to be an extrovert when I was trying to be my introverted self. And so I'm an ambivert. I'm like right down the middle. And maybe that's what ambiverts are, is they're introverts that were forced to be extroverted. And then because those forced to, like they kind of just learned that mentality and they can't break out of it. And I actually took the personality test twice. The first time it said I was 51% introverted and 49% extroverted. And when I took it the second time, it said that I'm 60% introverted and I'm 40% extroverted. And I thought to myself, yes, that's because I've been not working right now. And so I'm out of work and I'm refocusing on myself and I'm trying to get back to who I am. And the sad thing is I've never been able to explore who I am. And that is one thing that bad parenting does to children, is it causes them to not be able to explore themselves and who they are. And so they never really find a basis for who they are. And then that really sucks because here I am knowing that, I'm probably going to move whenever my lease is up. And so that's going to kind of throw me into a little bit of an upheaval of everything. And then on top of it, to kind of feel like people were almost coming at me like leeches about the fact that my apartment's going to be available. But the thing is the apartments where I live, there's not that many, and mine has a front porch. And a lot of people, I don't know, it's like they didn't notice that the place was here, because that's the thing too. Even whenever I was moving in and all kinds of stuff, like I asked the landlord, I know that this place was empty for at least 6 months before I moved in. I know it was, not unless she lied to me. So if the place was empty that long, then why have people taken such a sudden interest ever since I've lived here? This is not something that has happened just because word has got out that I'm going to be moving, even though, like I said, I had a woman that helped me that she messaged me. She's like, hey, are there any apartments available over there? No, there's not. There was 3 months ago, the one that's next to me, but she didn't contact me about that one. But then when I told one person that apparently must have a loud mouth, I guess, or a few people, but I actually only told one person. Well, no, I take it back. Okay, I put up a video on my Facebook, so it was obvious. So 50 people, because I had like 50 or 60 friends when I put up this video, and it's like, I'm trying everything, I'm doing everything I can, and so it's obvious, in the way that I was talking, that, anybody that has dealt with landlords and stuff is like, ooh, like, y'all have had a falling out. It was obvious, and I stated in that video that I guess, I'd be leaving, I think, or I don't know if I stated that or not. But, so this woman that once contacted me, not once contacted me, but once helped me in all kinds of stuff and was there for me and everything, she contacted me. She's like, is there an apartment available? No, there's not. There's not. I'm not. And it, because of what I've been through, the emotional abuse, the trauma, the everything that I'm suffering from, and then to have people doing things like that because they're wanting to better their own lives, and I have nothing against that. I have nothing against people wanting to move into the apartment that I've used to live in. I have nothing against it, but it's the way that they do it. Because when I was looking for an apartment before I moved out here, and even when I was looking for an apartment with my husband, I didn't go to people and get out and socialize with people and communicate with people and go, hey, do you know of any apartments that are available? No, I did the research myself. I looked it up online. I looked in the newspapers. I bought, a trader, and I looked through it. I looked and I called and I called and I called, and I was like, is this available? How much? How much? How much? I did the work. And so it infuriates me that people are like, oh, she'll be honest enough that I don't have to do the work. And it's like, that infuriates me too and everything. But, so anyways, I'm over there buying my candy or whatever, and this woman says to me, she says, oh, is that a refill? And I said, no. I said, I live nearby, and this is my sweet tea from my home. She said, oh, okay. And then she goes, oh, well, do you live in those apartments? And I said, yes, I do. And she said, which one do you live in? And the way that she even said that, I could tell she already knew which one I lived in. I'm not stupid. And I'm so sick and tired of people trying to con people all the time, but especially when they're trying to con me because they think I'm naive. And so she's like, oh, which one do you live in? So I told her, and of course, it's like the nod of recognition, like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, And she's like, so how much do they go for when they're for rent? So I told her what I thought that they would go for, but then again, I'm not the landlord. So asking me a question like that, and instead of asking for the landlord's phone number, which I will gladly give to you, I have no problem giving her number out to possible people, even though I'm still not in the best of terms with her. I have no problem giving her phone number out to people, because that's her job, And so I would have gave the phone number and she could have asked the landlord herself, but instead she asked me. And I get tired of people doing that to me. And I get tired of, in all honesty, I moved in here and it's like nobody knew of this place. Maybe it's because I put Christmas lights up the first Christmas I was here. And so it was like, oh, there's a porch there. Oh, there's a house there. Oh, people live there, Epiphany to these uneducated or these because I'm uneducated and stuff too, and I get what it's like to be awkward and backwards and shy and stuff like that. And that's just like my dad, for instance. Like, it still pisses me off to this day. When I've been out in stores with him, we will be walking around in circles, and after we've walked around 3 damn times, I'll get fed up finally because I'm like, wait, we keep walking the same aisle. Why does he keep walking the same aisle? We've done been down this aisle. What the fuck is he doing? Especially when I was like 12 and going grocery shopping with him. And I would be like, what are you doing? What are we looking for? Why are we here? And he'd be like, I can't find this. And I'd be like, well, ask one of the employees that works here. And he's like, no, I'll find it. I'll find it. Or better yet, you go check the other aisles and see if you can find it. And so it was my job and my responsibility to go and do that. And so that's the reason, like, for as far as our Walmarts, especially our newer one or whatever, well, not our newest one, but because we have two decent Walmarts or whatever, but for as far as the newest one, used to, now I can't now, but used to, even when I was only going monthly grocery shopping, because that's all my parents would take me, I could have told you where the hell anything was at in that damn store, because it became my job to know. That way I could answer my parents, because it wasn't just my father that was like that, it was my mother also, but my father was definitely like that. I'm not afraid to ask the employees that work there. Now, granted, if I notice the employee seems busy or frustrated or irritable, and I'm not willing to risk it, then I don't risk it, and I'll just keep looking, or I'll go look for another employee to ask. But usually, if I need to know where something's at, I'm not afraid to ask. And my dad actually, once I got older, like 15 and stuff, and I'd be like, just ask them, because I was getting frustrated because we were going to many different stores, because he used to take me to go Christmas shopping and help him pick out something for my grandmother and for my mother and for this person and that person and all this shit and everything. And I'd be like, what are you looking for? And he'd be like, I seen it here last week. I just can't remember which aisle it's down. And I'm like, just ask them. Just ask them. That's what they get paid for to a degree. That's what they're here for. They know more about where the stuff is than we do. Just ask him. He'd be like, no. And then I would be like, excuse me, sir. Or, ma'am, can you tell me where? And he would look at me like he wanted to smack the shit out of me. And I was just like, and then they'd answer us. And then when they'd answer us, and then when my dad kind of realized that, I guess through me being the leader of the example, like, yes, they don't bite. They're not going to turn around and bite your head off. They're going to answer you, as long as you're respectful and everything. Then, he'd act like he was the one that answered or asked the question. He'd act all kind of huffy puffy or whatever, and we'd go following them down the aisle. And then whenever they'd answer us, he'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, like real, just. And I was like, calm down. You don't have to be that appreciative that they answered where it was at in the aisle. Like, you can be like, thank you, but, And so he kind of learned over time, to not be so fumbling, I guess you'd say, in his interactions in that way. And then my dad's a sociopath, so he's, like, antisocial as hell and shit. And I don't even know what the hell he's been through for that shit to happen to him. And I don't know what's happened to my mom for her to be a narcissist. And I know that psychologically wise, that everybody has their own psychology. That's what we really need to talk about. Instead of people because I've talked about Chester Bennington's wife and how she's like, everybody has mental health and you have to take care of your mental health. It's not mental health as much as it is psychology. You have to take care of your psychology. And if you're not going to take care of it, if you're not going to face it, then no one can help you. You have to be willing to and wanting to face it yourself. And that is the thing, is I came from parents that do not want to face theirs. Therefore, they don't want nobody facing theirs. Therefore, they definitely don't even want their granddaughter facing hers. And they definitely have not wanted me facing mine. And that's the reason it's like, oh, you're this rebellious, horrible child, because I'm trying to figure out my own psychology and like my mind so that way I can be my best version of myself in my life. And I was trying to do that also with my child, but trying to do both of, like, figure us both out. And then my child has experienced things that I've not experienced. She has grown up fatherless for the most part. So that is something that I have not experienced, even though sometimes I kind of wish that I would have because of the amount of trauma and abuse. But, and emotional neglect. But still, even at that, I couldn't do that. And so we snapped under the pressure, and now my child is with them and everything, and it's just a big bunch of stuff. But, so anyways, let me get off that. But everybody has their own makeup of their mind, their own psychology, and they need to study, and they need to figure out, and they need to not be ashamed, and they need to, it is very hard to, step outside of yourself and look inside, and not be biased and not, favor yourself and everything. And then people that do have like really bad mental disorders and stuff like that, like grandiose and, paranoid schizophrenia and stuff like that, some of them are never going to realize that they actually do have that. Probably they're never going to be able to grasp that that is actually what is going on with their minds, and it's very disheartening. But that's the thing, that's the word I was going to use whenever I was walking home. I was like, that was so, how would I describe that? I'm going to shoot a short video about that. And that's what that was that just happened to me. I went over there just to buy candy, and she didn't come across as hateful, but I could tell she done knew where I lived, which apartment I lived in. I can sense the greed, I guess you'd say, and I don't want to even label it as that because it makes me feel like I'm thinking I'm superior, which I'm not. But it's just like, I did the work, people. I called. I begged my parents to ride me around. Anytime we rode around anywhere and I seen a sign up, I was like, ooh, stop, or let's get that phone number. Or even they were like, ooh, stop, we'll get that phone number, we'll call it, this and that. They were relatively helpful in me kind of branching out slightly, because I'm at the age that if I wouldn't have branched out slightly, it would have not appeared normal from the exterior of what normal families are supposed to be doing with their children of my age at this moment in time. And that has been the big thing with narcissists, and my mother being a narcissist, is the outer appearance, the beauty, the facade, the Brady Bunch theme, as I call it, or whatever. And God, I used to say that all the time when I was younger. I was like, smile like the Brady Bunch, be happy like the Brady Bunch, Brady Bunch, Brady Bunch, But it's like that outward appearance is what matters to my mother more than anything, that we look normal. And so we look normal. And then them even taking my daughter, they are actually getting a little bit of a high and a little bit of a kick out of it, because that is the normal for most people that are within my age group, to lose custody of their children. So, anyways, but back to the whole going and buying candy, and that woman being like, in the apartment and everything where I live and stuff. It is very disheartening. here I am, I'm struggling, I'm going through what I'm going through, I'm trying to keep a positive mindset. I'm going to keep a positive mindset. But I'm also going to be irritated at times and angry at times and going through emotions that I can't really even justify as anger or anything, because it's not anger as much as it is just being disheartened by it, just like this life. Wow, And for you to not even care about me, but you're like, when's your apartment available? Type mentality. And it's just like, I want to roll my eyes at it and just be like, leave me alone, just go away. And the thing is I know that I'm going to have to get some sort of job here in the next at least month or two. And whether it's me going back to my previous job or not is honestly disgusting the hell out of me. But then again, I technically don't have to. And that is one thing that I've talked even to kids that were complaining where I used to work, and that I've always talked to about that, is society has built us up in a standard of, you got to have a job, you got to have a car, you got to have a license, you got to have this. Well, because I was forced to deal without the things that I wanted so bad, like a license and a car and that freedom and being able to find out who I was and put my best foot forward and stuff like that, I was like, technically, you really don't have to have a job, but you have to be willing to accept the responsibilities that come with not having a job. So if I don't end up going back to work and I end up selling everything and losing everything, and then possibly, probably more than likely being taken to court because I can't finish up my lease and all that, once that's all said, done, settled, out of the way, once the mess is, it's as far as it can go, because that's the thing about a mess. A mess can only go so far. And that is what people don't grasp, is it's going to stop. It's just like the rain. The rain is going to stop. God promised, And so messes are going to reach their fill, and that's just like that very popular meme or post or saying or quote that people love to use right now is, something about, what is it? The devil whispered, "Here comes the storm," and I replied, "I am the storm," or something like that, or along that lines. I forget exactly how it's executed. But, it's like, it doesn't have to be seen as the end of time. The end of time is when God tells you it's your end of time, when it's obvious it's your end of time. Believe me, the people that die, the people that are in the process of going from living to dying, there is not, I don't know what's going on, There is, to a degree, and especially if you've never connected with yourself on a soulful level or with your psychology and with your knowledge and everything. But believe me, they have an idea. It's just a denial to want to know what's going on, to want to know what's happening, to want to know, yeah, I'm dying, or yes, I'm dead. Like you've watched movies where the person's sitting there and they're trying to tell the person that's over them, that's trying to tend to them, goodbye. And that person's screaming, no, 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 hold on, hold on. And that person's like, no, goodbye. And they end up dying. Then there's the ones that are over dramatic, and they're like, oh, goodbye, I'm dying, and then they're fine, or they end up making a full recovery. And then there's the ones that don't know, and it's just like they're shot and nothing, and they just sit there, or they'll even lie to themselves and they'll be like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay, and they'll lie to themselves. And I'm going to make it through this. So it's all kind of dealing with your psychology and your mindset, but your mindset tied into your soul and your being and stuff like that. But, Anyways, it was just very disheartening to hear that, and everything. And here I am going through the stuff that I'm going through, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. And, for as far as having a job and paying your bills, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to put in effort, if you're going to allow things to fall apart, and sometimes it's better. Sometimes, I hate to say it, sometimes you get more growth out of letting things just fall apart and fade away. And it's really devastating when you are like, that's what I'm going to have to do. And you come to that realization that there ain't no way out of this shit. And I might as well throw up my hands now, because any effort I put in is not going to do any good. And so, in that, you learn to, just let it go. Like Frozen, let it go, let it go. But sometimes you have to do that, because that is you relying on your faith in God. And when you do that, like I said, the messes can only go so far. And I actually got to thinking about watching a movie the other night, because I thought that is fucking a perfect prime example. It's Nanny McPhee, and it's the first one, I believe. Yeah. And it's where their father is fixing to get remarried. And the little boy, the son that's the more prominent character, he goes to Nanny McPhee and he says to her, Nanny McPhee, he says, can you promise me that you won't do anything to stop us from stopping the wedding? And she's like, okay, I can promise that as long as you're willing to accept the responsibilities. And he's like, yes, we'll accept the responsibilities. And so he accepts the responsibilities. Well, then the responsibilities spin out, if you've ever watched the movie, into something bad, really bad. Or at least in the child's mind, or it'd be bad in any family's mind. But it spins out and it's like, oh no, we made this choice and this bad thing happened. And so now they're screaming at Nanny McPhee, or this boy is, he goes to her, he's like, Nanny McPhee, you have to help me. You have to help me out of this situation. And she's just no, or yeah, it is dealing with the dad getting remarried. But she's like, no, she's like, you said you'd accept the responsibility of it. And she's like, think, you're smart. Think about it. Think what to do, and everything like that. And so he sits there, and it's like he has an idea, and it pops into his head, and so he goes through with it, and he ends up turning out for the best, for the better and everything. And then he is more wise and, in his situations and stuff like that. And then it also, it fuels the need for self-knowledge, of self-independence, and being able to take care of yourself and your own self-worth and your own self-value. And so that's kind of what I'm going through, because obviously, because of the whole narcissistic abuse and everything, I've had a very codependent relationship with my family, and I probably kind of have tried to have one with my friend Jen, and I'm starting to notice that she's actually been very good at buffering me out of that kindly and gently to make sure it doesn't become that. And then me and the girl that I actually ended up crushing on and kind of falling in love with and stuff and everything, I don't know, I still really care about her a lot. But at the same time, I can see how we could be seen as trauma buddies. And then even at that, there's a lot of people on the internet that are talking about twin flames and stuff like that. And the more you study into twin flames, the more you hear about people sitting there and being like, oh, she brought up my, trauma and my pain and my hurt, and I was able to work through it, and everything like that. And I brought up hers, and she was able to work through it and all this and everything. And that's what, the basis of the twin flame relationship kind of is. And in all honesty, twin flames might as well equal trauma buddies, because y'all are helping each other to grow for your most indefinite purpose, given and assigned to you by God. And it's it's a pulling of trying to just come into who you are and come into who you're supposed to be, so that way you can find your greatest self. And you don't need to, the worst thing is you don't need to be codependent on each other. And if you are, then there's going to be a lot of problems. And then because this girl, even though she's dated girls, but I haven't, she apparently has had somebody get onto her about dealing with religious stances about stuff like that. And so she's like, that's wrong, for us to be together because you're a girl and stuff. And I'm just like, get over yourself already, kind of, about it. Because it's sorry, just seemed like a light from somebody. But it's dealing with that and everything. It's if there was another girl that came into my life right now that I found attractive and that put in effort, and that I felt like was putting in effort, and I felt like putting in effort with them, I would not stop myself from dating them if I wanted to. So her thinking that, she's, because I feel like she thinks that she caused this in me. And even the way that she said that she reacted whenever she found out I was crushing on her as deeply as I was, it's I think she kind of felt some guilt. And all I can say to that is I am guilty on my own behalf for my own sins and my own faults and my own things, just as she is guilty on her behalf for her own thoughts and everything else. And so I don't have any harbored ill will or hatred towards her about the situation, because I've got my own journey and path that I've got to figure out, and I've got to be willing to deal with the outcome and the circumstances. And I have my own sinful behavior that, and everybody does, and things like that. But obviously it's raining outside, and it seems like it's getting more active right now for as far as just people driving around and stuff. Who knows, I might actually be waking people up, even though I wouldn't see how. But I don't know. They might have sensitive hearing like I do or something. Because that's another thing too. I have laminate flooring in my apartment, and my dogs, I cannot stand to hear them walking on it. I wish to God I had carpet. But I'm going to end this video here since it's raining. I'm going to eat my candy and all that good stuff. And so I will let you go, and I hope you have a great night, and I hope you're doing well. And just keep pushing, keep fighting, and I will catch you later.